Hello, everybody. Adrian Plass here, yet again.
Yes, and Bridget yet again.
And this is number 32 in Sounding the Shallows, although our metaphor is drifting away a little bit.
Well, that's because we're drifting away, isn't it? I mean, we're no nearer really to the shore. Lots of promise, but yeah.
This is a strange time, and I know it's becoming very hackneyed indeed to say that, but I was thinking that throughout our lives, there's always been a little queue of things ready for attention in your mind. Some of them are hopeful, and some are great, some are dark and difficult. And you kind of wait to see which one's going to pop up next. Well, now, I think for a lot of people, there are more seriously dark things than we've known for a very long time. If you think about it, of course, we have the immense hope of vaccines. We have the appalling images that we've seen of people dying on their own.
Well, certainly in the UK, Adrian. I mean, I know some people
America,
listen to this in Australia and various other places, and it's not so bad for them. But for us in the UK, it is appalling, as you said.
It is. So it's a very strange cocktail of hope and despair, darkness and light, and of course we don't know what will come at the end of the queue. We have our own hopes and beliefs about that, but it is one of the oddest mixture of things we've ever known.
Oh, in our lifetime.
Yeah,
in our lifetime,
absolutely.
and in a lot of other people's. And I know, because we hear from people that people are more frightened this time round. A lot of people have said that during the first lockdown, nobody actually really knew anybody who'd got it. That's right, isn't it, Adrian? And then now it's got much closer.
Yeah, I think there is. Someone said to us on the phone this morning, actually, that yes, all through the first lockdown, she didn't really fear anything. It all seemed a long way away somehow.
Head
and
down,
now,
do what you're told, and you'll be all right.
And now there's an element of dread, and this is somebody who's actually had the vaccine. Who said
yeah,
that
she just
so,
had it.
Yeah.
But we have heard. I mean, I know we had one email this week that was reminding us that for some people it isn't so awful. People who are used to being on their own. This person said that. She is used to being on her own. She doesn't go for foreign holidays. She's not missing some of the things that other people would be. And she lives in a lovely part of the country and she's retired. So I think there are people still for whom this period of not having to be in contact with lots of people, not having all the pressures of the journeys, the long car journeys and things, that there is still a sense that they're allowed to be quiet and...
I think we've had some interesting communications. That somebody talking about the fact that in the last lockdown, doing very prolific writing, and this time, of course, this doesn't apply to us, having come to the end of the Christmas chocolates.
Oh well, no, I mean that's a great sadness, isn't it, for many people?
By Netflix, she's having to wean herself off and get back to writing, and she actually says how quickly time flies in nothingness, which is true. The days pass by, and some days it's hard to see what you've achieved, if anything. And, of course, the problem is that at the moment the instructions are your job, your difficult, tough job is to stay home.
Yes.
And that can only be tackled
But
in
I mean, we have tried
ways.
making lists, haven't we? On your list yesterday, what was it? WD-40, the bathroom door, because it's squeaking. And... what was it? Screwdriver, mend the hinge on the cupboard in the kitchen.
Unfortunately, God told me not to do it. So,
well, they certainly didn't get done.
No.
It is difficult, and for some people, things are imploding very badly. We know that. Having said that, Adrian, there are people. You know, you last week you were talking about your determination to take up finger picking on the guitar, and we did hear from somebody who.
Well,
it's not going to do that.
I have been doing it actually. I've been having a go, and I do enjoy messing about on the guitar. You're never going to hear me playing it, but I do enjoy it. Somebody said about that. I tried a night school class to learn classical guitar years ago, but gave up after the teacher announced, "One of you is out of tune." Well, that's happened to me in other ways many times. I am planning to start piano lessons again after giving up when I was 14, which is 50 years ago. I don't have to tune a keyboard, thankfully. Oh, I do know that.
So we'd love to hear still some of the things that maybe you're trying to be creative to fight the fact that there's everything kind of making things feel very flat and difficult and scary. And you know, last week we were talking about that feeling of being on hold. We have actually, and there's not time now, but we were talking about our boiler, weren't we, Adrian? And we were talking about the fact that it took us some time. It would appear that many of you are rejoicing or trying to rejoice in terrible situations like water coming through the kitchen floor or the ceiling even, which is what I meant to say.
Yes, we have been remembering those words in the wonderful book of James. Should regard all problems as pure joy.
Yeah, so it's been good to know we're not on our own with that. But if you remember, last week we mentioned Aaron, didn't we? And we mentioned the children of Israel and what that must have been like for them being on hold while Moses went up the mountain and did all sorts of crucial, important
And then,
things.
amazingly, we found a piece of undiscovered Old Testament that throws quite a lot of light on that. And I'd like to read you an extract from it. This is it.
When the people saw that Moses tarrieth so long on the mountain, they gathered us around Aaron and said, Thing is, we waiteth an eternity for Moses to come back after talking to God. He's your brother. What about an update? Aaron cuppeth his hand round his ear, pretending that he hath a message from Moses and God.
Hearken now to the words of my brother and the Lord God. Your obedience, patience, and willingness to be part of our Exodus safari are valuable to us. Please hold, and we will be with you just as soon as the commandments are signed off and both tablets are fully engraved. We know you are waiting, and we thank you for agreeing to be involved in this exciting wilderness experience.
But the Israelites crieth out against Aaron, saying, We waxeth bored with our exciting wilderness
You mean
experience.
waxeth? I'm sure you do.
Bored with our exciting wilderness experience. You're in charge. Giveth us something to do while we wait. Now.
Aaron panicketh. He announceth an cookery competition, offering an manna feast to the Israelite who maketh the most unusual meal made of manna. Every entry for the competition looketh and tasteth exactly the same, except for one piece of manna folded in half with a lizard inside. Aaron declareth the competition an huge success, but the crowd crieth out against him once more, saying,
Give us something else to do right now, or verily we shall smite thee with a selection of rocks and bury thee deep in an dune. Aaron frantically claimeth to have lots more ideas, including macrame, jigsaws, face painting, and making up little dances about how nice God is. None appealeth to the Israelites. Building sandcastles, going for a nice sensible walk in the sand, and all other sand-related activities goeth down worst of all. Several hundred picketh up rocks. Aaron appeareth to have an inspiration.
And look, let's have a band. Let's start a musical band. Anyone any good on the shofar? No? Oh, all right. Bells? No? Wood clappers? No? Trumpets, surely? No? Tire? A lyre? Cymbal? Harp? No?
1,000 more Israelites hefteth rocks ready to hurl at Aaron.
Aaron quickly organiseth sundry party games, pinneth the tail on the camel, faileth due to all camels objecting strongly to having tails pinned on them, and kicking the pinners hard before running off into the desert. Passeth the parcel, also a dead loss, because the parcels, made of stale manna, containeth only stale manna, and unexpectedly the lizard from the cookery competition, who sleepeth in one of the parcels, it waketh up and biteth the one who unwrappeth him. Hide and seek faileth, because there existeth nowhere to hide, and all 3,000 of the Israelites trieth to hide behind each other.
Then someone shouteth out in a loud voice, Let's play a game called Throw a Big Rock at someone called Aaron, whose ideas are all rubbish. Aaron leggeth it up the mountain, then suddenly stoppeth, and turneth round, And calleth out...
Wait a minute, no, just a minute. No, I've got it. Everyone. No, listen, just listen. Give me all your earrings. I mean, all the women. And behold, I promise you will give me all your gold earrings by tomorrow to organise an amazing, wondrous game that will filleth every moment of our time.
And behold, 2,000 excited mothers and daughters filleth a gigantic sack with gold. And that night Aaron saith dismally to his wife,
Wife, I needeth an idea by tomorrow. 4,000 golden earrings. What am I going to do with them?
I'm sure, saith his wife soothingly, we can cometh up with something that will bring great joy to the Israelites, to Moses, and verily to the Lord God himself.
And as we know, that was absolutely not true. But it's interesting to have that little sidelight on a story we think we know well. Isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Even if I did hurl rooks at Aaron, and I think one or two other mistakes that we made.
Oh, never mind. It's the first time we've read it, isn't it? It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's
one thing that I have tried to do in this second lockdown, I was sent a really beautiful craft set actually to make some amazing sort of cushion cover that looks like a dog. The slight problem is that quite a lot of the instructions had Chinese symbols because it came from China, and so some of the colour coding and everything was incredibly complicated.
Did you make anything? Do anything?
I've done 3 lines of something that's probably about 1,000 lines.
That reminds me, and you know, people say I make things up. I promise you, I did not make this up. Years ago, we bought something that was supposed to help us find our car keys when they were lost, and it was one of those things where you have to play some music or do something in order to make the keyring sing back to you. Unbelievably, in very bad English, this was also a Chinese product. Said you had to sing Yankee Doodle Dandy in the key of D in order to make the keys sing back to you. So,
or it could whistle. You could whistle.
So you have to imagine, right? There are 4 of us, 3 of us, unbelievably, are walking around the house singing Yankee Doodle Dandy. 1, me, sitting at the piano playing D, middle D, in order to find our keys. I wonder if you'd like to guess whether or not we found our keys. Well, we didn't. We did the next day. We found them at the bottom of the rubbish bin.
Yes, we did. With no help at all from Yankee Doodle Dandy or anything else.
I think they were very embarrassed about being involved in that.
Yeah, it was very confusing.
The messaging was wrong.
It was wrong. Because that's what we keep hearing, isn't it, this week, last week, the week before? The confusing messages that we're getting over COVID. You know, it is, but the messaging is confused. And you can feel that people trying to get us safely through this are getting more and more frantic. I think there's a feeling that one or two of them would like to use quite strong language in just telling us to stay at home. But it's interesting. I was wondering, you know, they're talking about people not only needing to follow the letter of the law, but also the spirit of the law. And I was thinking, I suppose the problem is, and I fit into this just as much as anybody else, that we want to hear what we want to hear. It's like when you look at medical things, isn't it? You choose the option that, you know, is the nicer one, really. Or when you're looking at... And I think maybe that's always a bit of a problem. I don't know what you think about that, really. I think it can... I think it's partly that when you're in leadership, you really need to be careful what you're asking people and whether it is right, whether it's the spirit of whether it's wholesome for people, whether it's the right thing for people, how they're feeling.
The trouble is, people get away with it, and the Pharisees did that, of course, didn't they?
Oh yeah, I mean, my goodness, the Pharisees, Jesus really gave them what for, didn't he? because they were following the letter of the law and they were making life really, really hellish for people. Jesus was really angry.
I love this bit
Read
in
that bit.
this translation. You travel over land and sea to win one follower, and when you've done so, you make that person twice as fit for hell as you are.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that that parallels the thing about one sheep that gets lost, where the shepherd goes out to find that one sheep, and what they're doing is destroying one person.
Yeah, they are. There's another bit, isn't there? He says you lock people out of the kingdom of heaven. You won't go in yourselves, and you keep others from going in. Really angry of leaders whose messaging in everything they do and everything they say is not actually to keep people safe. As let's be honest, most of the messaging in our country is at the moment. It's a desperation to keep people safe. And that's our reaction to it that sometimes is what goes wrong.
I don't know if people have been watching Junior Bake Off, but which is, of course, the junior equivalent of the Senior Bake Off.
It is our daily treat at
we've
tea
been
time.
Watching it at 5 o'clock at tea time. But it just occurs to me, thinking about the letter of the law and the heart of the law, that even the Junior Bake Off is a bit of a meritocracy, because one poor little boy who'd failed to do a very good pastry thing, eventually, or bread, I can't remember, had to leave. And then there's a star baker who shines with happiness, and the others are ranked 1 to 7. The thing about the Christian faith, and probably others, I can only talk about what I know, is that the very heart of the thing that I believe in is that it is not a meritocracy. That is not the point. The point is not how much you achieve or how good you become or any of those things. The point is that you are there. And of course there's the story about the workers who come to the vineyard, and it doesn't matter whether you come early or late, the pay is the same. And it's about, obviously with the Christian faith, it's about Jesus and his desire for us to be with him. Yeah.
Mind you, when it comes to Junior Bake Off, I mean, it is very loving, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. Yeah, I enjoy
anything that is a competition is inevitably going to have winners and losers. I mean, I think that is a bit different, really.
But it is. But the point is that the messaging for faith, in not just faith, but in lots of areas, is the opposite of what it was intended to be.
Oh, absolutely.
You can enjoy a race and see who wins and who loses. What you can't enjoy is a situation where everybody should be involved, and some are allowed to be and some are not, for the wrong reasons.
Well, I mean, it's true, isn't it? I mean, we still do meet loads of people who deep in their hearts feel that the chances of them going to heaven is based on what they do.
Yeah,
and how
even
they
though
look
they
and
know the technicalities of it, they know
Yeah.
about redemption and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But still, the child in them says, "I know I'm not worth it."
Is it because we like rules? I mean, we do talk about the Pharisees as they're sort of, I don't know, crawling around the edge and being like the virus, really. And actually, surely some of them believed that if they just followed the law and did everything right, then they would be okay.
I think
I
I
mean, we have a
subscribed to that
tendency-
once. No,
yeah.
I think I did at one time in my life.
I suppose the danger is always if we follow blindly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it really, isn't it? You know, that the idea is not that we don't think about what we're being told. We do question it. I mean, one of the things I've found interesting recently is that there's been these two messages, both very strong, and they don't fit together. And one of them is you can only get a test if you have symptoms, and the other one was you can pass on the virus even if you're asymptomatic.
Yeah.
And it is only really now with this, what do they call it, this different sort of testing, that people are testing people without symptoms. And for a long time I felt, well, those two things were right, but they didn't kind of connect.
Well, I guess that they're having to to make it right as they go along.
Of course.
I have more
but
sympathy
it is
at the
that
moment.
danger, isn't it? That
I
danger
know.
of just
Yeah.
following blindly. What is it? The other thing Jesus says about the Pharisees? They're like blind people leading other blind people, and all of them will fall into a ditch. Or, let's be absolutely honest, fall into the ditch or go crowding round doors of the Capitol.
You can.
Actually hearing what they wanted to hear, and obviously being excited by it.
It's so easy to think you messaged right, isn't it? Just tell people about that lady we knew who was a headmistress. We haven't got much longer, but just tell that story.
Well, she'd done the whole introductory thing, hadn't she? She'd been up on the platform. She got her other teachers with her. She'd introduced the person who was going to teach them PE. She'd introduced everybody. And there she was in charge. And as she went out, she was standing and waiting for all these small children who'd just joined the school to exit the gym where this very first assembly had taken place. And one of them stopped, a very small person, and turned to her and said, "Who are you?" And she thought, I think maybe that I need to make my messaging clearer. And what was that story from Northern Ireland that we loved so much?
I went to a great big conference there, and afterwards, it was a ladies' conference. 4 or 5 of them took me back to have something to eat somewhere. We had a wonderful evening. And one was a junior teacher, and she told me about how at her school they always, rather like you said, they brought all the grown-ups in, and they said, this is the man who does the work around the school. This is the lady who's in the office who does those things. This is the lady who organises the dinners. These are the people. And later that day, this teacher who was telling us the story found a little boy sitting on the toilet with his trousers around his ankles. And she said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm waiting for the lady who wipes the bums." So,
a very small boy, I hope, Adrian.
Oh, a very, very small boy. But I mean, obviously, he'd listened to this and he'd thought, there must be
one.
a lady who wipes the bums because that's what happens to me at home.
Yes.
So maybe somebody at home got it a bit wrong and somebody in the school got it a little bit wrong as well. Anyway, messaging.
Yeah, and hearing what we want to hear.
Yeah.
And we've heard 2 things about the vaccine this week, and one of them is really wonderful news and one of them not so good. One was of somebody who overheard somebody in a shop saying that there's no way they were having the vaccine because somebody puts a microchip under your skin. And then we heard of someone else and who said, surely God's provision is the vaccine. He's given us brains and curiosity to explore our world, and so on and so on. We've just got to sift, haven't we? And we've got to listen, and we've got to be as obedient as we can to the things that are right. And we've got to be very wary of people who stand on platforms and lead us in some very strange directions indeed.
Yeah. It's not always the loudest voice that gets it right.
No.
But sometimes it's hard to believe that is not the case. Anyway. Well, there we are. It's nice to be with you again.
It is, and we love hearing from you. So
we'll see you next
keep
week.
in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.